Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk about the one drone that's sort of forgotten, underrated. Many people don't use it, but it is of course the Mavic 2 Zoom. For my Mavic 2 Zoom, I actually got this case, which was hard to find, and I somehow got it on eBay for a very good price. But the reason I wanted this case is because I can have both the standard controller and the smart controller both in one case. And of course you can see I got my Fly More combo and the star of the show, the Mavic 2 Zoom. Now, if you remember, the Mavic 2 Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro, they have the same frame, and they both say Mavic 2 on them. There isn't a drone that says Mavic 2 Pro or Mavic 2 Zoom on it. The reason for that being is because the gimbal assembly and the cameras are actually interswitchable quite easy. Because once you take off the front assembly, which is just a couple of screws, you can remove the gimbal of like Mavic 2 Zoom, for example, and swap it out for the Mavic 2 Pro lens, and back and forth vice versa. So that's why they kept the frame universal that just says Mavic 2 on it. Now, there are instances where the optical zoom lens comes in really handy. And I had just one such instance this past week where took this little guy with me. Well, technically, when I went, I took like 5 drones with me. I wasn't sure which one I was gonna use. I took my Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom. I took my Hotel Evo, Nano Plus. I took the Mini 3 Pro, and I don't remember which. Oh, and and I also took another Mavic 2 Pro as a backup in case the first one failed. But I took like 5 drones with me. I decided to use this one, and I will explain why. But I have to tell you where I went. So the fam and I went to USSS Alabama, which is right next to Mobile, Alabama. It's a retired, or I guess decommissioned, battleship that is parked and basically has been turned into a national park. Now, I have a job in Alabama that I drive to every other week, so I've been driving past that ship like clockwork every other week for the last 6 months, and never really went out of my way to explore it, to film it, but had to do it this time. So I took the fam with me. We went on the whole park tour. We went all over the ship. And before I even took my drones with me, I decided to go on their website and check their rules for flying drones. And of course, any good sort of place that is aware of drones and drone pilots and drone regulations will have like some sort of guidelines, how, like, where drones are allowed to be flown, how, and their guidelines were fairly simple, but I saw the use of for the optical zoom lens as to not use the digital zoom, as to not lose quality. So their rules are, because I guess it's considered a national park or something that's national, but you technically can't take off and land on their land unless you have the permission from their director of the park, which I did not, and I didn't even try to get it because it was going to be like a flight basically to record for YouTube and just to for myself, because I really wanted the footage. Other than that, it was fairly simple. You can't fly over the USSS Alabama, which I completely agree with. I mean, you don't know how drone is going to behave, and you don't know if it's going to crash or not. And it said you can't get any closer than 100 feet to it. Now, I had to to do some prior research. I had to go on Google Earth. I had to use their measurements and had to sort of draw myself a barrier, like how close I can get to it on the map, as to not break all those rules put in place. I did not do 100 feet. I did like 150 or 200 feet, just so there would be some sort of more than enough distance not to get close enough. And I can see why, because a lot of people visit this place. A lot of people don't want to be bothered by drones flying around. And honestly, the Mavic 2 series, the Zoom, the Pro, the Enterprise, all of the Mavic 2 series, they're fairly quiet to where when you have the drone more than 100 feet away from you, you're not even going to hear it. Honestly, the whole time I've been flying the Mavic 2s, I've never had anybody, no matter where I was at, notice that I was even flying the drone. They noticed me, and they noticed my beautiful neon green vest that said drone pilot on it, and they would approach me and be like, "Hey, what you doing?" And I'm like, "Flying a drone." They're like, "Where?" That's the reaction, because Mavic 2 series are fairly quiet, and you can't really hear them when they're more than 100, 200 feet away from you, unless you're looking for them. So had a great time flying. Tried the dolly zoom that comes with the Mavic 2 as one of the quick shots, Mavic 2 zoom as one of the quick shots, and it worked fantastic. I got the battleship with the backdrop of Mobile, Alabama. So if you haven't been, I would highly recommend visiting this site. It's a good place to visit. I mean, they could use a little bit more air conditioners because I was like soaked in sweat by the time I got done. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And this drone, really, really useful in those instances when you need to get close to an object without getting close to an object, if you see what I mean. Because I would fly up to the barrier, like where I decided not to go past a certain point. I would use the 2x optical zoom, and it actually looked really, really good. I mean, it happens a lot. I actually found myself in a situation today. I know I'm talking about the Mavic 2 Zoom, but I was at the beach today, and I was flying over the water. Again, always flying in Class G airspace. It's less of a headache that way. But I was flying over water, and I saw something dark in the waters. I'm like, I wonder what that is. I was flying the Mini 3 Pro, and actually, let's do another video for that. But for right now, the next video will be about this. But for right now, Mavic 2 Zoom, again, having an optical lens, well, a lens or a sensor with the optical zoom really does come in handy once in a while. Because honestly, I probably use my Mavic 2 Zoom a handful of times because I usually use the Mavic 2 Pro. But right now you can get these fantastic drones for a couple $100. I saw a Mavic 2 Zoom, really good condition on eBay, and it didn't even sell. It was on eBay. Fly More combo, so you get 3 batteries which cost $100 each at least. You would get the entire set with the carry case for $600, and nobody bought it because when Mavic 2 Pro is out there, people want to have the Mavic 2 Pro. They forget about the capabilities of the Mavic 2 Zoom. So again, highly recommend it. Get it if you can, if you want to have some fun. And remember, the batteries between all of the Mavic 2s, they're interchangeable. I have Mavic 2 Pro, I have Mavic 2 Zoom, and I have Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. I can use any of those batteries on any of the drone in any combination. I cycle them between them, always works perfectly. The same can be said for the remote. So the smart remote can be used for like Mini 2, the Air 2S, the Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom, Mavic 2. I actually have a smart remote for Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced as well. And the only Mavic 2 that this remote can be used for is Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. That uses a different standard remote, because you won't get any picture if you try to use the Mavic 2 remote on the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. It will work, but you won't get any image on your phone, and you will be wondering what's up. But everything else, like between Mavic 2 and Mavic 2 Pro and Mavic 2 Zoom, everything is interchangeable. That's why if you're a Mavic 2 fan, it's always a good idea to have both. Not just to have one drone and two different interchangeable gimbal setups. No, have two drones. Buy a Mavic 2 Zoom, buy a Mavic 2 Pro, have both. Really good idea, especially if you're running a business, because sometimes you will need those shots where you can get a little bit closer without losing the quality. So you use the 2x optical zoom. So again, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel. See you guys later.